Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. This is John Paul Wright, and I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. I finally got a few new pictures up. I've had the same ones for like 10 videos. I got the real, non-pansexual Lando. Today's video is going to be about why people like The Last Jedi and why they continued to like The Last Jedi. So let me get into the first reason, which I think is the trickiest and the hardest to figure out. I have a good friend from way back to elementary school, so that's about over 30 years now, and he has a friend who's a pretty big Star Wars fan like we are. And when he saw The Last Jedi, he came out of the theater and he was all like, "That was the best movie since Empire Strikes Back, it was amazing." Now that was his first reaction for the first 48 hours or something like that, and I don't blame him, because when I saw The Last Jedi for the first time, yeah, I didn't like it, but I was like, oh, it's better than The Force Awakens, and I think it's better than the first two prequels, and, I thought it was a lot better than it was. But then, after things sink in, after you think about things, after you read some critical reviews and you have things pointed out that you can't quite disagree with, that you start to really hate, you realize you were wrong. Now, the problem is, when someone's wrong like that, it's hard to admit it. When you brag around for, a couple of days, just like saying it was so damn good, it's a little embarrassing to kind of say, yeah guys, I was really wrong, it's just the worst Star Wars movie, and yeah, wow, I got it wrong. And people generally don't say that. So I think there's a good portion of people who liked it initially, even loved it, and then came around slowly, but they're kind of stuck with their pride and they can't admit it's bad, and part of me doesn't blame them, and that's just human nature. So I think that's reason number one, people like The Last Jedi and still do. The second reason is Star Wars movies for a lot of people is kind of like a ritual, like a religion, and not only that, it gives them something to look forward to for a long time. And I think looking forward to it and that anticipation for a lot of people is more valuable than the movie quality itself. So I've been seeing Star Wars movies since Return of the Jedi in the theater, and yeah, I gotta admit, when one came out after that, it was pretty exciting. Even though I wasn't too happy with the first two prequels, it was still really exciting waiting for those movies, waiting for The Force Awakens, and especially waiting for The Last Jedi. And I think a lot of people don't want to give up that excitement that this movie brings to them, and that these movies bring to them when they come out. So if you tell yourself you hate The Last Jedi, you're boycotting Solo, you don't want to see 9, you lose that. And the thing is, Star Wars really has this special thing about that anticipation and the waiting that's pretty unique. I mean, I think Lord of the Rings came the closest to that for me. Maybe Game of Thrones has that too now, but especially Star Wars really had this looking forward to it and anticipation that was almost like nothing else. And once you stop liking the movies, you lose that. And the next reason, and the last reason, is the simplest one. Some people are just gonna like it. And, some people are just gonna go like, oh yeah, that was really cool, I didn't expect that stuff. Wow, Rian Johnson did a good job that nobody else did. Nobody else would subvert expectations of Star Wars. That's genius. And I think these people didn't have an emotional connection with Luke, Leia, and Han. Because if you did have an emotional connection with those characters, it's really hard to like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, because they're just pushed aside for very, 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 very mediocre characters. Also, I want to say one quick thing on the subject is I see some talk going around like, oh, you're a real fan, you're not a real fan, kind of bullshit, and no one can tell anyone else they're not a real fan or a true fan. I mean, I have quite a few franchises I really like. One is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My uncle lives in Massachusetts, and he lived very close to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Museum, where Eastman Laird worked, and he met them, and they signed a comic for me, and they mailed it to me, and I'm a true fan. But I'm not emotionally invested to what happens to the Turtles. I mean, whatever happens, happens, but that doesn't mean I'm not a true fan. So, that term doesn't really mean much, and I would just say there are different kinds of fans who like The Last Jedi, and I have to assume that they're fans that are not emotionally invested in the movies that came before. channel's growing a little bit, and I just gotta thank everybody for all the comments lately. It's been much more active this last couple of weeks, and if you'd like to subscribe, please click my Super Reisu icon, and I will see you next time.